And we are live. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen?
Hey everyone.
Got the everyday progressive here. Let's I want to
Yeah.
see how many if we can get some people rolling in. Um
Y'all are so lucky you get to see my pretty face again.
it's been a bit. When was the last time was it pre-COVID or was it during COVID?
Before COVID a couple months. It's been a while. Um,
Yeah.
but you've been busy too, having to deal with your work situation, and yeah, I understand that completely. Um, but
Hmm.
yeah, I seen you watch that video on Richard Wolf about a couple months ago. I watched that video, and I'm glad you got to hear of him. Because
Right. Yep.
he's amazing. He really is.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I wanted to do more segments like that. Because I did one of George Carlin, I did one of Richard Wolf, and I wanted to do more segments like that. Just exposing people to these individuals, and it might, broaden their horizons or change their minds in a couple things, or start a conversation. So when I discovered Richard Wolf, I was pleasantly surprised. Um, and I want to do more segments like that too.
Yeah.
It's tough.
No, I'm just saying that Richard Wolf, he really explains things in a way that average people can understand it, but he's not dumbing it down. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we got some things to talk about. I know one of the things we were going to touch upon is socialism, right? You wanted to talk about that, and ironically, um, I did a interview with the Yang Gang Roundtable last week, and one of the individuals from the Yang Gang Roundtable asked an interesting question on Twitter, right? And I think it kind of corresponds with I really want to pick your brain as to how you feel about what he asked, and how does that correspond with socialism. So let me just pull it up. Uh, Mr. Riley, all right. He asked. This is on the spot. This is some on the spot shit, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh no.
Doesn't get any realer than this, right? I should have had it prepared. Look at me being unprepared.
Take your
Um,
time. It's all right.
and that gets time for more people to come in. Hey, Elizabeth, what's going on? Yang Gang in the house, Yang Gang in the building. Everyday Progressive. I don't do many live streams. Um,
Oh, that's all right. If you want, you can just call me. People ask me my name, I say it's Rico Suave, and they never believe me. You know what I mean? They say, I know it's not. I'm like, that's hurtful. That's fucking hurtful, man. How do you know it's me? It's Joe.
it's just, well, I mostly upload videos, but I need to do more live streams. But what he asked, what I hope I'm not butchering his first name. Shell Riley asked, true or false? Capitalism does more harm than good. And there was a ton of interesting answers in there. And I just wanted to pick your brain. How do you feel about that? Capitalism does more harm than good.
In relation to, I mean, is it
It,
say better than chattel slavery? Of course. Is it better? Is it better than feudalism? Of course. But is it
yep.
better than democratizing the workplace? Is what I'm, getting at, to where workers have at least some control over their workplace through elected representatives by the workforce onto the board of directors, like they do in Germany.
Hmm.
Um, it's been working very well for them for decades. And yeah, I mean, of course, capitalism is not better than that. People like Richard Wolff say capitalism is should be looked more like as a mode of production, how
Hmm.
how things get produced, how services get rendered. If you look at it that way, then you can really see the distinction between, say, capitalism, socialism, communism, even the difference between social programs, which could happen under either a capitalist system or a socialist system. Now, of course, I support social programs fully, and I want to see them expanded. But some people are at this, I guess, they trying to get too zealous and trying to say socialism is a good thing. We got these social programs. That's socialist. But technically, it's not. But I see what they're trying to do. But there are better ways of going about it.
So, I just want to be clear. When Sanders was running, were you pro Bernie Sanders?
Well, I'm still pro Bernie Sanders
Pro.
now, but the
Okay.
thing is, I'm not. Thing is, I like to tell people that I'm not a excuse me, not a never Biden kind of person. If he
We're going to
would have
talk
picked,
about that too. We're going to get into that. We're going to get we're going to get into that. Okay, so um Bernie ran as, and correct me if I'm wrong, all right? And don't get me wrong, I was a Bernie Sanders supporter. I still am a Bernie Sanders supporter, but I did shift into Andrew Yang. But Bernie Sanders called himself a democratic socialist, but actually he was a social democrat. Am I
right,
correct in saying that? Yeah.
right.
And most people don't know the distinction, and to most people, socialism is a scary word. Why is socialism not well? First of all, why do you think people are afraid of socialism, and then why is socialism not scary?
It's just the narrative in this country, which is controlled by big money interests, which are capitalist interests, have a vested self-interest in promoting the idea that their way is the best way and may not be perfect, but it's the best way. So they try to malign socialism or anything other system which might be better as some sort of crazy Stalinist or crazy totalitarian, tyrannical boogeyman or boogie thing. And so that's been happening over the many decades in the United States. And so people have had in the back of their mind that capitalism may be flawed, but it's the best thing, and at least it's not totalitarianism. But I argue that I'll get into it later, but I'll argue that, like Richard Wolff, capitalism is the dictatorship of capital, the dictatorship of the ownership class, and it's basically economic authoritarianism. But that's for later. But yeah, it's just been nonstop corporate right wing pro business propaganda. It's been infiltrating this country since probably before FDR.
Yeah, and they've been doing a good job at it, right? What my response to it was, I'm thinking we need a healthy balance, a dose of both, a healthy balanced dose. And the fact that our country's political and trade system are controlled by private owners has always given me a sort of yuck kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel that way. So do you think this is it for Sanders? That he's not running again? This was his last hurrah?
As a matter of fact, I have on my YouTube channel, The Everyday Progressive Show, I have a political prediction playlist. One of the predictions is Bernie Sanders will end up running as being the nominee in 2024. He'll get elected. He'll do one term and then retire. That's one of my predictions. So if y'all haven't checked out my political predictions series list, you don't have to watch the videos. Just check out the titles and you'll see. Then when a few more of these predictions come true, because a couple of them already have, I predicted a year ago that Joe Biden was going to be the nominee, that he is going to lose to Trump because he's just not going to energize the base enough. Ocasio Cortez is going to keep her seat. Other predictions as well that I made over a year ago, and once a few more big ones and a couple small ones predictions come to pass, then I'll be more than happy to come on here and reveal my source. It's an impeccable source, but
You actually you the last time we spoke, you actually explained said source to me. I'm not going to reveal it right now, but you I think we were off camera actually when you explained it.
yeah. So I mean, so like without revealing too much, how do you think things are going now? The way I predicted them, and now all of a sudden they're happening.
I think maybe you should join the Avengers or something. I think you've got some sort of undiscovered ability. So you spoke about Biden. I don't know if you saw a video. I did. I don't know if you happen to watch it, but it was about voter shaming. Okay. And that video sprawled up because I had saw Russell from Grassroots Yang Gang, my brother, getting voter shamed. Okay. And people were, sort of telling him about what Andrew Yang would do, how Andrew Yang feels, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Andrew Yang. Now, this is a guy who was on the campaign trail with Andrew Yang, right? And I'd say his friends with him. Like Andrew Yang played with his kid, right? And people were voter shaming him because he wasn't exactly on board the Biden Kamala train, right? Now, and I didn't expect him to be because he is a conservative beforehand. He always said he's a Yangocrat. He never said he was a Democrat, right? But he was getting voter shame. So I've been noticing, even in my comment sections, and I don't know, not everybody sees it, but in the community tab, sometimes I'll post political memes and stuff like that on YouTube. You know, I've been seeing in my comment section that I really shouldn't bash Biden anymore. Right.
Right.
Yeah, I've been seeing this even as of yesterday, right? And that, you know, me bashing Biden is only helping Trump. Now, to be fair, I bash both of them. But the
Me
Trump
too.
bash, right. The Trump bashing doesn't matter. It's the Biden bashing that I should stop because it's only helping Trump. And you know, I should follow Andrew Yang's lead and trust in Andrew Yang because Andrew Yang is supporting Joe Biden. Now, to be fair, Andrew Yang is a Democrat, and I identify myself as an independent, right? I side with the Democrats more, but I've been getting this a lot. So you mentioned Biden earlier. Are you on the Biden Kamala train? Full stop.
I could be swayed to do so, but for the time being, I'm voting Greens because I don't see what's the point in voting for Biden if he's not going to energize the base enough to beat a Republican incumbent who has a rabid base who can't wait to go out and vote for their guy again. Because if you take away the margin of error, and you're kind of close as a Democrat, it's not good in this country. I hate to say it. Do I prefer Biden over Trump? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would I prefer Bernie over Biden? Absolutely. Would I rather see him out, Trump out, no matter what? Of course. I mean, but seriously, if I vote for Biden right now and not really try to pull him to the left with him trying to actually advocate for policies that are popular that will energize the base, what's the point in voting for him? I might as well vote for, if I'm going to vote for a loser, I might as well vote for someone who's going to be more in line with my policies and my philosophy. This
is and listen, I agree with I've always said this. I've said this from the jump, right? I've always said a politician is supposed to earn your vote, and if they don't earn your vote, why should I feel bad for not giving it to them, right? But and I, like I said, I agree with you 100% on everything you just said, and I support anybody's vote. But now with the recent, passing away, people are saying now you gotta do that Biden vote for the sake of her. How do you feel about that?
Now that has energized the situation where Biden is getting some more support, but isn't enough to overcome the the rabid popularity of Trump supporters for Trump in the general election. Right at this point, I don't think it's going to be quite enough. I'm not saying it's going to be a landslide, but Biden might get. I've always said that Biden was a less charming Hillary Clinton, and that it's. I've said
less
before.
Charming. I don't know. I think he might be slightly more charming than Hillary. That's just my opinion, though.
Well, because at least Hillary had that that air of being the first woman president.
Yes.
That too, but Hillary, she's a dumpster fire. Even though, strangely enough, if Bill Clinton were able to run or Obama were able to run this year, but they can't because of the third term thing. But they could beat Trump. So it's not the voters, it's the candidate that they set up the situation more than a year ago to basically, in the end, you have to be stuck with Biden, and you have to, that's what they say. We got no choice. I'm like, if I vote for him, he ain't going to win anyway. I'm sorry. Not unless he really comes out in strong support of Medicare for all or something like that. Even though recently, I think someone told me that Joshua over at the New Progressive Voice told me that he's another Yang Gang's kind of dude too. He told me that the Biden-Harris ticket just recently adopted a child UBI. That'll energize things a little bit, but will it be enough? I don't think so. It's got to be a bit more than just tepid little promises that'll probably not be kept if they do get in. I mean, I hope to God that I'm wrong. If Biden ends up winning, I'll be more than thrilled to come out here and everywhere else and say I'm a fucking idiot. Don't listen to me, I'm a moron. See you later. I'm out. I mean, I mean, thank Christ he's out. I mean, that'll be so happy.
I think it's going to be incredibly close. Sue says we need ranked choice voting. I agree. Yes. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be incredibly close. I had been to make a bet with Trump or Yang for $1. I thought Biden was going to win. I don't know if I'm going to keep my dollar now. I really don't know. I think it's really.
Well, at least you bet $1.
Yeah. Thank God I didn't have a whole bunch of hubris and bet $100 or something. But I think it's going to be incredibly close because you're right. Biden doesn't energize the base. And again, I've been catching a lot of flack for not fully embracing Joe Biden or talk that people don't want me to speak negatively of him. And that's just not being real. It's not that I don't trust Andrew Yang, right? It's that I'm seeing what I'm seeing is what I'm seeing, and I'm going to speak on it. I'd rather give you guys the beautiful truth, the ugly truth as opposed to a beautiful lie. You know what I mean? So little old me isn't going to influence the election. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. And I'm going to continue to be honest about And I'm going to continue to be honest about, Joe Biden. Now, people have said this is how deep it goes. This is how deep the rabbit hole goes with some people's thinking. People have said that I am secretly for Trump, a Trump mole, right? Because I'm not embracing Biden. This is how deep this is. When it comes to this political shit, this is how deep people have gotten. People have deleted and blocked me and things along those lines because they say, "Oh, you're for Trump," then simply because I'm criticizing Joe Biden and completely ignoring the fact that I criticize Trump. I think he's an orange idiot. I've said this many times. But that doesn't matter because I'm criticizing Joe Biden. I think it's quite interesting. But maybe a lot of people are afraid. Maybe a lot of people are afraid of another Trump term, and I get it.
Me too.
But yeah, he's incompetent. Incompetent isn't the word.
Thank God he's not competent. If he was competent and actually strategic and full of critical thinking, and he was really good at it, then they'd really be scared. But thank God he's a fucking moron for the most part. He just does what he's told by his rich buddies, and the big money interests that surround him. But as far as Biden's concerned, criticize him all you want because it doesn't matter. He's going to end up not quite cutting it. And another prediction I have too is that even though Trump gets a second term, he won't complete it. Roughly 2.5 years into a second term. When there's about a year and a half left of his term, Pence is going to take over, but he's going to be a lame duck president. But by then, the Justice Democrats will have done a good enough job of taking over the House and possibly enough of the Senate to where they can block a lot of the actions of the GOP and Mike Pence. So he'll be a lame duck, or end up being a lame duck too. So that's some horrible news. But there's another thing too, which I'll tell you about in a second if you want to get your thoughts in.
Well, Sue's saying, I think Sue's misinterpreting what you're saying a little bit.
What's that?
Sue said, I agree with the everyday progressive. We need to vote against Trump. I was going to write in Yang. We lost our queen, RBG, so I'll have to vote for Biden to kick Trump out. But correct me if I'm wrong. Your prediction is Biden's not going to win. So
the thing is, let's say if somebody wants to vote for Biden, so be it. I'm not going to shame them. That's part of the Democratic process. Vote for who you feel best.
Yep.
I'm just giving I'm just a nobody left-wing jagoff talking politics. Even though my track record is starting to show positive results in this kind of freaky to the average person. Like I can just see now a couple more like the prediction I have about what's his name, ugly football head looking motherfucker.
Hey Arnold.
No, not him. He's on my privilege. So Kevin Brady. Kevin Brady, Republican Texas representative. If that one comes true, and then the Also, the Antifa prediction came true too, or is coming true. That is going to be declared a terrorist organization. I predicted that a year ago, but
Mhm.
now that's not really Nostradamus level prediction. But these smaller ones come to pass, and people like at first it's like the weird part. It's going to suck at
Right.
first, but then it's going to gradually get better and better and better. So we're just getting a really shitty part out the way.
Have you had a prediction about Andrew Yang at all? Because I think a lot of people that watch my channel, obviously Yang Gang, they want to know. There's right now there's a battle, right? There's a
Yeah.
battle going on between. There's some people in Yang Gang that thinks if Trump wins, it's going to be easier for Andrew Yang in 2024. And there's some people that thinks if Biden wins, it's going to be a lot harder for Yang to score a win in 2024. First of all, what do you think about those thoughts? And then have you had any predictions about Andrew Yang?
The only prediction I've had about Andrew Yang, and as much as I love him and he's great, he's terrific. I don't agree with him on everything, but I'll take him over Biden. I'll take him over Trump any day of the fucking century, um, or the millennium really. But the one prediction I do have is after a couple years or so after the 2020 election, he begins to put on a bit of weight. I'm not saying he's going to be Majin Buu or nothing, but he does
Are you,
get
you said Andrew
noticeably
Yang's gonna
chubbier.
get chubby?
Yeah, he's gonna be chubby like around the cheek. I mean, he's not gonna be he's not gonna be like a a blimp or nothing, but he's gonna get noticeably chubbier. But really stay into politics, I think for a while he'll keep promoting UBI until it gets done, which I think UBI in the United States will end up happening as an extended Social Security for all.
Oh,
Um,
okay, let me stop you real quick. So you think
sure,
UBI will come in and form as an extended Social Security for all?
right, and hopefully it'll get implemented in the way that if you're under 65, you get your $1,000 a month from Social Security. And because the mechanisms are in place, then once you're over 65, you get your your first full Social Security retirement, and that extra $1,000 as well. I think it happens just like that. And
Wow, that's a huge. Hold on. I mean, not to cut you off, but that's a huge prediction, and I think people would be okay with that. All right. So you're saying not only are you saying UBI is going to happen, but you're saying how it's going to be implemented. And I think that's huge. Now, this is regardless of who is president at that time. Is that what you're saying?
well, it'll happen at roughly about 10 years from now.
10 years from now.
Well, yeah, but maybe a little bit less. Between 8 to 10 years, something like that. I know that Medicare for All or the version of it's going to happen in 2025 or 2026. So that's another prediction too that I made on my YouTube channel, the Everyday Progressive Show.
I'll
Please
put
go there.
links in the description. I promise.
Please go there and subscribe. I'm getting kind of close to that 500 subscriber number. So I'm like, please, just I'm at 471 right, or for 472. Please, just let me see 500. That's my lifelong dream that I've had for a couple of years.
Elizabeth Norris did a super chat. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. She said Biden and Trump need to retire. We need Yang. I
Yes.
do think. Listen, if Biden wins, he will be the oldest president taking the seat ever.
Yeah.
Ever. We're literally going the opposite way. We keep saying we want younger, progressive people with new ideas and things along those lines, and we're about to nominate the oldest president ever. That's incredible. That's insane. But that's a huge prediction you just made, and I'm going to remember it. Archive this, people. Archive this because we will come back to this video and make note of it. That's crazy.
Yeah, you're gonna shit a brick when it happens too. Well, it may not be 10 years, maybe about 10 years more or less, but it's not going to be like 30 years away or anything like that. If I can give you an exact date, I would, because of my source. If it's just how it works, and no, it's not a computer program either. If anyone's wondering, it's not. It's something entirely different. If I told you all what it was right now, you'd think I was batshit crazy.
It's not an algorithm.
And I would totally understand. You know what I mean? Because it's even I look at it sometimes. I'm like, oh God, I'm nuts. And then this shit happens. I'm like,
Okay, so you're making Sue said she's going to visit your page. She's probably going to subscribe. She is awesome.
thank you, Sue.
She's very supportive. She'll watch the shit out of your videos and she will like, comment, and share and all that. She's great.
Appreciate that.
So you're having all these predictions. how is so do you see socialism being put in effect into these predictions you're having, or do you still see a capitalist country?
It'll be implemented in a way that Germany has, at least with co-determination. They've been doing it for decades. It's helped them. It's actually worked very well for them. It's still working for them very well. Basically, a co-determinant is a hybrid between capitalist and a socialist enterprise. It's not a full blown co-op, but it's not your traditional Amazon or Walmart type business with your traditional corporate structure. And so, what a co-determinant is, you have workers elect a certain percentage based on the size of the company. If it's more than 500 in Germany, if it's between 500 to 2,000 employees, you have 30% of the directors board be elected to by the workers. If it's more than 2,000, then it's 50%, and then you have tiebreaker. I think the ones that are small have a tiebreaker too. That's a non-interested third party, but it's those businesses are a bit more productive. They're more stable in economic downturns, and they're just as profitable as before. And it's a great way to have the workers be at least in some control of the place where they work. And so, it's technically the definition of socialism is workers owning or controlling the means of production where they work. And it's a good way to spread out the power. And I'm just letting people know about that option, because co-ops are great for down the road, but let's do something that's we can see it work right now in Germany, bring that to America, and people can understand what that can do for them, and without getting all into theory and making their eyes glaze over. Oh my God, not again. So just, that can work for me. I understand it. Boom. So any thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, Andrew Yang for president says never pure socialism, but a combo of both system, which is exactly what I just said right at the beginning. I don't think he caught that. So I actually agree with you, Andrew Yang for president. I can see what you're saying happening. I can see it happening. But by that happening, what you're saying is the people at the top, the people currently running shit, are going to be toppled for that to happen. Correct?
And I'm not saying to be toppled. I'm just saying that they'll have to give up some of that unilateral power that they have right now. The large businesses, I'm talking large businesses that have more than 500 employees, like in Germany. And that was a small business. We can encourage them to be a co-op through tax breaks, tax incentives, things like that. So we for smaller business. But the thing is, the way I see it is, it's all about showing people what works now and what can possibly happen beyond that as a stepping stone. Like let's say if we did that and later on instituted public banking, so co-ops have a easier time. I'm not saying it's going to be a giveaway or a charity, but they'll have an easier time getting the funds so they can get started with their business. To basically, I don't like using the word compete, but actually show that they're end up being better than your traditional private businesses, and still have that option if small businesses want to be capitalistic. Because I think for a business to be small and capitalist seems to be a bit more doable, because there's just less of that power differential between your employees and your employees. If you're working for a small business, you're much more likely to be able to build a rapport with the owner, with them, the higher ups, than say, if I go work for Amazon, will I ever see Jeff Bezos? No. So it's
I don't even
sort of like
see.
that.
Listen, I'm a manager of my store, and I actually oversee multiple stores right now because COVID-19 changed a whole bunch of shit. So when I went back to work, we let go of cashiers, tailors, stock people, not furloughed, fired, right? So these people are
Let
out of
go.
work.
Yeah,
So there's a fucking ambulance. I don't know if you can hear it.
a little tiny bit.
It's fucking loud as shit. Okay, so we let go of a lot of people, but I don't even see, and we're a smaller store, like comparative, in comparison to Amazon and Walmart's, and I guess our competitor would have been a Men's Warehouse or Joseph A. Banks or something along those lines. But I don't see my CEO. I don't see, the VP waltz into the store. So
Yeah.
you
Well, one thing is, how many at your business, more or less, how many people work there? The entire corporation.
Oh God, I don't know now. I don't know now because
Is it more than 500 or more than 1,000 or?
it's definitely more than five. It's more than 500.
Well, then that business will be required. If it was Germany, they'd require by law that it be a co-determinant. And so you as a manager, guess what? You'd have a say too. you have to say you can have a vote because you're technically a worker too. I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm in that. If to put it in slavery terms, I'm in the house. I'm not in the field. I'm in the house. That's really how it is. And shit rolls
You are a
downhill.
tool. You are a relentless tool of the bourgeoisie, and we must seize the $3 that you have.
Exactly. Well, here's what's crazy. So, they got rid of everybody. They gave me 2 people, right? They work 20 hours apiece, and so I'm salary. So they can
Ooh.
work me 60, 60 plus this week, 60 hours. Last week, 66 hours. Last week I had inventory. Actually, the day you and I were supposed to do our original, I had inventory. And I was like, "There's no way I'm going to leave here." At the time, I thought I was going to leave here. Yeah, 66 hours. But
That's
at the same time, I know it sounds crazy, but I feel blessed to have a job. It's like it's a weird dynamic. You know what I mean?
you shouldn't even have to feel that way. Just oh
Right.
yes, I can scrape by. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
even though you're managing, there's lots of management that I met that are cool and others that are not. But it's all about how the business is ran. It's so if we switch over to where do we mandate by law if a business has more than 500 employees,
Mhm.
then there has to be a co-determined at least 30% of representatives on the board of directors for worker representation, which I think is like it's unionization on steroids, but it's like an in-house union that's directly represented by the employees and is accountable to the employees. And it
Didn't
seems to be a
Sanders
better deal.
didn't Sanders support something similar to that? I don't know if it was that. Yeah, something similar to that. I thought.
I think if there's something like mandating that a certain number of stocks go to employees,
Yeah.
which is okay, but I think mine would not the idea that we're doing in Germany is it can definitely go alongside that. I think, but I got to think more of the details on that to where because sometimes Bernie Sanders, as much as I love him, sometimes he's stuck in this mental framework of where he's just used to being so for so many years, not really being exposed to too many new ideas, or if he has, he doesn't really know how to present them to the public to get the
Yeah.
support. And
We
so it's
we
he's
saw that when it came to drugs, because it technically Andrew Yang was to the left of Sanders when it came to decriminalization of drugs, and I think Yang was looked at the Portugal model um, as an example. And I saw the Yang interview, and Yang was, to the left of Sanders on it, because I also saw the Sanders interview, and he's not, his words, he's not there yet, which I was very surprised.
yeah.
Because, he ran on Revolution and et cetera. But I think that's just that frame, like you said, it's just that framework that he's been stuck in, that with enough time and enough talking to him, I do think he would switch over. I don't know if that's the right word to say, but he could be convinced. But I think at the current time,
Yeah.
at that current moment, he wasn't there yet. Um,
Hell, if I just had 10 minutes with him, I can just about convince anybody of you be doing a UBI on top of social programs, still money saving idea compared to what we're doing, letting
mhm.
poverty exist the way it does now. What costing our economy $4 trillion a year versus a UBI's net cost is around 600-700 billion. I mean, it's no brainer. Same thing with Medicare for all. It's better, it's cheaper, and it's better than versus what we're doing right now.
Were you
I mean,
surprised that Sanders didn't embrace a UBI of some sort?
at first he seemed like he was open to it, but then I think maybe he got a little concerned that maybe he thought he was pushing it, but not being able to explain it. And I wish because Andrew Yang does follow me on Twitter, and I wish that I would have somehow gotten to him sooner about the idea to where before he would have been on the debates during the first time, that he would have just told the guys are doing the more expensive, less effective thing, letting poverty exist the way it does. The net cost of basic income is cheaper. And so if he would explain it that way, I think, and then maybe he would have said, look into it yourselves, folks, look into it yourselves. And then I think that would have been
Look into it yourselves. I'm telling you to look it up. Look on the Google. Look it up.
but
Um,
I think that would have helped out, making it more of a serious idea, or at least a lot more people would have been open to it. There was just, oh my God, $3 trillion a year, how can we afford that? But
well, it's politics really isn't fair, and I mean, he could be saying, and this goes for Yang, this goes for Sanders, this goes for anybody running, the absolute truth, and then your opponent's going to twist it, and they're never going to be honest about it. How can you afford it? How are you going to pay for that? Like anything that they didn't like, it was how you're going to pay for that. And the meanwhile, when there's something they liked, it was just so easy to do. I think I remember there was one debate where Joe Biden was literally saying, "This is America. We can do anything we want and put our minds to." And then the same debate was like, "We just can't do that. We can't pay for that. We can't do it." I'm like, you literally 15 minutes ago said we can do anything we want, anything we put our minds to. And then it was something that your opponent said that we could easily do. We can't do that. How are you going to afford it? We just can't afford it.
Unless it's endless war.
Unless it's endless war. Jesus. I think America spends like $600 billion a year on our military. I think it's like the biggest by far from any other country. It's incredible.
Our military spending is larger than the next top 9 or 10 countries combined.
Yep, it's not even close. But UBI, how can we afford it? Some version of Medicare for all, how can we afford it? Can't do it. It's impossible.
That's when you shoot back these assholes. I don't know. How can we afford something that's going to end up being cheaper and better? It's all about the framing, counter framing, and just basically putting them in the box to where they got to be on the defensive instead of just shooting at the mouth, talking these bumpers, sticker slogans, and but that's something we on the left got to get good at. Like I always tell people that, hey, listen, if you're left wing and you want to promote left wing ideas, truly left wing ideas, promote them, you have to be able to explain them in the way that people understand what it is and how it is, simply enough without being, without leaving out details or oversimplifying it. And if you can do that, like I'm doing here, man, hopefully I'm making people more open to the idea of workplace democracy. And like I say, Germany's they've been doing it for 40 years. And they're more productive, it's more stable in economic downturns, and they're just as profitable as before. And you, as a worker, will have a say, at least some say, in how the place is ran, or at least how it's operated. And, just where people say, oh, okay, that sounds kind of interesting. I'll go ahead and start looking into that. Of course, don't just take my word for it. I'm a left-wing random, nobody jagoff. And it's like, I'm not saying that's an insult. Really, I'm sure people coming into your stream like, who the fuck is this pretty looking motherfucker?
Well, I like exposing, because we've talked before, and I've seen people in the chats like saying I've never seen that everyday progressive before, but we've talked before. So I like exposing people that I converse with or people that I know about to my subscribers. But let me ask you this, because I see some talk going on in the chat about Kamala Harris. First of all, do you think Joe Biden's going to say Joe Biden wins in the scenario that Joe Biden wins? Do you think he's going to do his full term? And if he does do his full term in 2024, how is somebody like an Andrew Yang going to overcome a Kamala Harris? Now, let me start off by saying I think Andrew Yang in general is a much better candidate in every way, shape, and form than Kamala Harris. But Andrew Yang is going to be going against someone who could potentially be not only the first woman president, but the first person of color president that we'd have. And that itself is going to be a big hurdle. So what do you think about that?
That's some speculation, which I haven't really thought that much about because based on my source. I'm just kind of going with it. So I haven't really thought of any supposes, but let's say Biden does win. Mm-hmm. I think Kamala might, she might run for 2024. Yang, he may give it a shot to see if he still has that, the interest and the drive to do it and the feasibility. But it's, like I said, it's really hard. That's can get into some really big what ifs, and It all depends on how things are going versus what my source says, or what. Yeah, so it's like that's something I can't really get too deep in this post because it's kind of like
I was talking to a friend of mine, and Well, for me, policy is everything. Like I can care less
Right.
what your gender is. I can care less what your color is, your ethnicity. None of that matters. It's policy. What's going to change things and what's going to help me improve my life and the U.S. right and the world right. But he pointed out that most people don't think that way. And he said he used his mom, for example, right? And I'm using the Andrew Yang versus Kamala Harris argument right now. So when I see Andrew Yang, I see policy. I see somebody that's driven. Hell, even Bernie Sanders, you can throw him in there, right? Somebody that's driven. And I agree with, point for point, not because I like the guy, but because I like his policies. Everything else is just icing on the cake. But his mom, right? All that policy shit will go in one ear and out the other. And she'd strictly vote for Kamala Harris based on those two things I pointed out. She's a woman and a person of color. And there's a lot of people, I didn't even realize it because I was actually arguing against him. But as time passed, I'm noticing there's a lot of people that think that way. Right? There's a lot of people, and I ended up talking to my mom, and even she thought that way. Right? And so I'm like, oh, that is an uphill battle. A huge uphill battle.
You're going to have people like that that is going to vote on based on the person's like identity politics or anything like that, which is okay. It's what they want to do. It's their choice, it's their vote, and they can vote for whoever. I try to be more informed, more argumentatively sound when it comes to who I vote for or who I support, but I don't try to be rigid or fixed. And who like if Biden may come out a couple weeks from now, which he won't, but and then he's going to support maybe Medicare for all. But if he does that, if he does that, then yeah, I'll vote for Biden definitely because that will energize the base enough to where there's a good chance of defeating Trump. And I'm whispering right now because a buddy of mine next room over, he sleeps, so I'm trying to stay quiet. So if I'm a little hard to hear, I'm sorry.
No, I hear you fine.
But yeah, so it's like trying to be fixed. So I'm not a never Biden. I would say Biden, give me a reason to vote for you that I know that's going to energize the base enough to where maybe you really do have a shot at beating a Republican incumbent that historically in this country you need to have Obama levels of excitement to beat or Bill Clinton levels of excitement to beat, and it's got to be like overwhelming. Like there's no kill quite like overkill if you're a Democrat trying to beat a Republican incumbent.
He needs overkill. He
Right.
needs it. We got to remember Hillary Clinton had the popular vote, but Donald Trump won where it counted. And we might see a repeat of the last election. It's looking that way. There was a point where Joe Biden did have like a 12-point lead on Trump poll wise. That diminished real quick, and it diminished really quick. And this is with all the COVID shit going on, with all the Black Lives Matter protesting all going on.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of things that I know it's a shame to say, but should be helping Biden, and he still only has like a 3-point lead average right now, which is within the margin of error.
And that's no good. That's no good for a Democrat.
That's no good. He needs to blow him out. They're saying Nina Turner may be a strong candidate. Honestly, she doesn't do much for me. I'm being honest. I'm being completely honest.
I like Nina Turner because I mean, like I said, if she would be on board for UBI plus, then I'm sure many people or Yang Gang would be on for that for her and or that platform. But Nina Turner, I would definitely take her. She's definitely a firebrand, progressive lefty. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of just trying to get the word to these possible candidates, like my videos. Well, not necessarily my videos, but people talk about it in their videos. Hey, look at this! Somebody sent me an idea in the end, and I know the way that we can possibly do it, to where it's going to, we're not just doing the more expensive, less effective thing right now with poverty the way it exists, but we're also sandbagging our own economic growth. I mean, even Business Insider had an article out where if we did UBI, $1,000 a month, over the course of 8 years, it would add like $2.5 trillion in economic growth to our GDP. So we're doing we're doing it all ass backwards right now, letting poverty exist with this idea of rugged individualism. You're on your own, fuck you. But we need to protect corporations and businesses and private property rights. But anything more than that is communist tyranny. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Like,
That's
it's
all.
like,
That's all smearing and bullshit and propaganda. Um, Complete bullshit. Listen, guys, I like Nina Turner too, but I know she is a firebrand progressive. I need to do more research about her. I mean, I've seen her with the Sanders campaign, and I like what I've seen, but I still want to know a lot more about her before I say, yeah, that should be the next president of the United States. You know what I'm saying?
definitely a contender. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
But the way that my little sources revealed to me, well, it's going to happen a bit differently. See, at first, when people try to approach in 2024, when people try to approach Bernie, he's not going to want to do it. Then a little while later, he changes his mind, gets the nomination, then boom, he does one term, then retires.
So
So
Bernie Sanders is going to be Andrew Yang. That's what you're saying. Be
he's
careful. Listen, I sent all these people to your page. Be careful, brother.
well, I'm saying it's good news either way because over time he's going to be more open to doing UBI, and I think hopefully we should convince him enough to where he should have at least Andrew Yang in his cabinet somewhere. But I can only report to you what my sources revealed to me, and it's short-term shit news, short-term really shit news, longer-term a little bit better, and somewhat better over time. We'll get it. Keep pushing for it. We'll get it.
So I'm not saying we can't have both because I know that's an option too, believe it or not. But were you for a UBI more or $15 minimum wage? I'm curious.
Both. Thing is, if we have to do one or the other, definitely UBI, because that's money that people can have right now. But of course, I want to do both. I mean, Australia has $19 an hour, and they seem to be doing pretty well for it. And they have mostly nothing but desert and fucking deadly animals over there. God, and go over there, you look at something that kills you. Australia's fucked up like that. Really, don't go to Australia
Australia is
because
no, it is
you
fucked
see
up.
you
100%.
see like in Australia, like these trees, and off in the distance, it looks like there's like fog between them, but you walk close to them and you realize it's something else entirely. And I would shoot a brick, and that's actually two trees, maybe even multiple trees, with these network of spider webs. There's like thousands. I'm going the other way. Fuck you.
Yeah,
Um,
Australia has some of the world's deadliest animals and colorful shit that you need to stay away from because it's probably going to poison you. And yeah, but it's beautiful. Australia is a beautiful place.
it is.
Just
If you and if you want to look over there, look for some opal mines to get rich. You can do that too, but don't get bit.
don't get bit. Fucking A. Yeah, this is interesting. Your predictions are interesting. Some people are saying no way Bernie can't beat our Yang. I listen, I didn't think I thought this was Bernie's last hurrah, right? I thought this didn't happen. There was no way he would ever run again. This is just my thoughts, but if he does run again in 2024, that's going to be if he runs again in 2024, the government may need to come and get your ass because you
Believe me, people are going to be wondering who the fuck is this dude? There's some progressive guy making these predictions years ago. How the fuck did he know? What the fuck is he on? Is he CIA? So yeah, CIA, like barely
right.
getting by. Sure,
You got to use it. See, that's the unique thing about your ability is that you can't use it for something like the lottery or something like that.
and that's when I say no, it doesn't work that way.
Doesn't
Sorry.
work that way.
Well, actually,
Okay,
it could if you have a fair bit of understanding of quantum mechanics, which I barely do.
so quantum mechanics. That's where the world's going, though. Quantum energy, right? And quantum computers, they already exist. So your theory is Trump's going to win. And you think he's going to drop out halfway through after he wins?
About two and a half years into his second term, he's going to resign due to mounting legal and political pressure. Mike Pence will take over, but he won't be able to do much of anything because the Justice Democrats, like I've said before, will have taken over the Senate. The House pretty good, and some of the Senate they can act as a bulwark, get things prepped for 2024, so they get the Medicare for all passed. But in the meantime, within a year or so of Trump's second term, they're going to try to do a convention of states to rewrite the Constitution. That's going to end up failing by one or two votes. Right before some kind of election season, to where after that they won't be able to try it no more. and thank God it ends up failing. So that's another prediction too.
Do you
Now,
know what they were
that's
going
not
to?
on the list, but
Do you know what some of the things they were going to try to implement into this newly formed constitution?
no, if it were to succeed, they would try to rewrite it in the benefit of their rich, benefactors or rich buddies. But I know the specifics now, not really.
Okay, all right, and that's a big bold move right there. That's a bold move of them to attempt. Now, what about like sort of the feelings of people right now? We're in a real fiery situation. Maybe that's the wrong verbiage to use with all these wildfires going on.
Wildfires going, yeah, it's okay. It is. You're
We're
not trying to make a joke, but
right with. I think if Trump won, wouldn't there be like a massive outburst with protests and people running in the streets and destroying shit? There's a lot of Trump hate. Like you
that
think,
I can't speak to. But I think the riots do persist for a while, but eventually they start dying down because they just see that it's. I mean, that nothing's really changing too much because of it. So they're going there's going to radicalize a lot of people to run for office as lefty progressives, or at least more progressive. I'm not saying they're full on communists or socialists. I mean, I myself fancy myself technically a libertarian socialist for the most part, though I try not to be an absolutist in my political positions. But that's close because I believe that, hey, it's your body, smoke what you want, do what you want, as long as you're not harming anyone else. And at the same time, definitely by law requiring companies to at least be co-determinants that are large companies, definitely for a strong social safety net, all the for tuitionless college, things of that nature. Women's right to choose, definitely. I support strongly, even though I don't understand the topic entirely. I always err on the side of rights and protections for marginalized communities such as the LGBT community. Trans rights, definitely. I support. So even though I'm not an expert on that, as a progressive, I want to err on the side of protections for people who are typically marginalized just for being who they are. So that's what I'm gonna do. So that's more or less my position. But I try to talk to people who are conservative or far right wing, not Nazis. Nazis can go to hell. They don't care about free speech, so they can fuck off.
yeah,
But
yeah,
don't get me wrong. I'm gonna try to do what I can to plant lefty seeds wherever I can, but I'm not gonna sit there and entertain certain ideas like the JQ, and I'm not gonna fuck that. I'm doing
right.
that. They can suck my ass. But conservatives, right wing libertarians, anarcho-capitalists. I love fucking with anarcho-capitalists. They're so fun. Oh man, I love fucking with them. But so I mean, I do also have a Discord server, so it's not super busy, but not super dead. If anyone wants to come join it, or whenever you get yours set up, if you do, I'm more than happy to help you get that set up. Because you got relatively. Yeah, you got a little community going on, about 3,500 wonderful people that can start the meeting.
Yeah.
But you always gotta be
It's
sucking up a
tough.
little bit.
You're in a tough. And I was talking when I was on the Yang Gang Roundtable. What's going on, Greed? It's tough for people in your spot right now. Like you said, you're about to hit 500, and with YouTube's changing views on independent media, and Yang not running and Sanders not running, like it's a slow trickle right now, and it's really surviving, right? It's
Right.
hanging in there for the long run, because come 2024, I think all that shit, all those views, all that shit is going to start spiking up again, and don't be surprised if the views start pouring in for you. But right now, it's like
I'm
it's
building a
just hanging
base.
in there. Yeah, building a base.
I mean, I'm just hanging in there, but I've had some people help me out, like Joshua over at the New Progressive Voice. He's, that was like a year or so ago, but he had me on. He gave me a nice 15, 20 subscriber boost. I was recently featured on The Surfs. I don't know if you know about them.
Mm-hmm.
The Surfs, recently I gave them like a 30-second ad with me saying, "Hey, it's me, the everyday progressive," and they put it on the tail end of one of their videos recently. That gave me a nice 40 subscriber boost, up from 430 to around 471 now. But every once in a while, I'll see the subscribers go down a little bit, like Why is it YouTube just deleting channels, or is people just dipping out saying fuck this redheaded prick? I don't know.
I think it's a little of both. It's a little of both.
I am an asshole though.
It's a little of both.
I can be the asshole that just smiles in your face all day. But
everybody's going through it.
But I mean, I'm just trying to be cutthroat. I mean, I try not to be an echo chamber. I mean, I'm trying not to be like, oh my god, like some people, like a lot of people in the community of the serfs. A lot of people like they look down on Yang gangers because a lot of them see UBI as a replacement for social programs or a replacement for socialism. But when in fact it's not needed, or I'd say value added tax not needed because we're doing the more expensive thing right now. So I mean, if you want to do a VAT tax or something else, great. But for UBI, it's just not needed. We don't need to cut anything to do it.
These people that are saying this about UBI, they have to be financially set, right? You must be living luxurious, or you must be okay for you to be like, nah, UBI is not necessary, because that's $12,000 added on top of whatever you're making is life changing, unless you're already wealthy or well off, right? If you're making $100K a year, then that UBI probably isn't going to do anything. But if you're a person making $30K a year, right? Well, I mean, that UBI is going to help massively.
Well, definitely it'll help. But a lot of people, like in the lefty community, a lot of them, and I tried talking to them, and I've actually sort of convinced quite a few to not be so against the idea, as long as it's implemented a certain way. Like on top of those programs, it doesn't go towards counting as income towards other social programs you may need. It is exempt from debt collection, things like that, which of course I'd like to see it done like that, of course. But it's like a lot of them are worried that it's going to be soaked up by landlords, which is kind of true. But the thing is, it's not that simple. Because if you have $12,000 a year, you can clean up your credit, put money down for a house, and get into home ownership much more likely than you can now. So
which most mortgages are less than the average rent. My friend just got a house, and his mortgage is less than what he was paying for rent. Quick thing. So they're having a debate in the comment section, right? Talking about Trump winning, Trump now. So I got a question for you. Well, first of all, I'm going to address Andrew Yang for president. He says Trump is a mass murderer. That has to count as at least 1 point against him, right? I say to you this: aren't the last couple of presidents we've had mass murderers? Aren't they all war criminals, including Obama including Bush, in an illegal war? The last couple of presidents, including Trump, are all mass murderers. So I don't think that's a point against him, because it just fits right in with the other presidents that we've had, right? Yeah. We're in an illegal war, bombing 8 different countries, and that hasn't stopped. Trump is just continuing what Obama did. Obama was just continuing what Bush did. Yeah, so they're all mass murderers. But to address what they're saying, I think Biden needs a big voter turnout. If he does not get a big voter turnout, then Trump will win. That's just my opinion.
He has to give something to the left-wing base. I mean, I told people repeatedly, I'm never Biden. Okay, I'm not easy. He has to give me something substantial to where I know that it's going to be enough to where he can possibly get this orange bastard out. But as I see it right now, what's the point of voting for him? I'm basically just throwing my vote away, because some people are talking crazy like, oh, if Biden gets in, then we can push him to the left. He has no reason to be pushed to the left at that point if that were to happen. Okay, no, I mean, people try doing that to Obama, but Obama bailed out Wall Street, cracked down on Wall Street protesters. It's like he just served the big money interests. He did the extrajudicial killing of an American citizen without due process. It's like, oh my god, like what the how can you do, like, is it it's like eviler.
Listen, the last couple of presidents have had a horrible history. Now, some of it is sprinkled in glitter, depending on what president you're referring to. So if we're talking about a Bush, depending on who you're talking to, if you're talking about a Bush, he's painted pretty fucking horribly, and there's no glitter on there. If you're talking about an Obama, you can say the negative things, but then usually it's followed by something positive, right? And he did get a lot of shit. He got a lot of hate, right? I'll never forget when I watched people getting interviewed on the street, and they were asking, if they liked Obamacare, right? And they were like, oh, fuck no. And they're like, well, how about this? How about, we do this thing called the Affordable Care Act? And they started naming things in the Affordable Care Act. And they're like, I'll take that over that Obamacare shit every day.
Like, that is Obamacare.
That is right. So people hated him for hating him's sake. But there's an ugly history between all the cousins.
Well, that was due to a lot of right-wing propaganda, making out Obama was a communist Marxist, which is laughable. Even though was a Affordable Care Act an improvement over what we had before, of course, but at the same time, it was still a right-wing based, Republican-based plan that was free market or at least private market, and that was bailed out, that hooked up the big pharma. So it was basically a right-wing capitalist plan, but it's still an improvement. I'll take it. But
it was, I believe, it came from the Heritage Foundation,
right,
from a right-wing think tank, and I think Newt Gingrich was part of it, and Mitt Romney and Chuck Grassley, and I think Obama, if I remember correctly, he took that and sort of put his own spin on it.
Then all of a sudden they were all against it
and all of a sudden they were exactly. It's sort of like how right now, if you ask some conservatives, they're against UBI. Some of them, not all of them, because some of them came the Yang gang. But if Trump randomly came out and he was like, I support UBI, I'm going to do something called, the Trump basic income, they'd all fucking be for it. They'd be okay. They'd make every excuse for it.
I tell you what, if Trump comes out and supports UBI, not as a replacement, just do UBI. I mean, talking real UBI. I don't want to say it.
I think he'd win in a landslide. If Trump promised everybody $1,000 a month, right? If Trump came out,
I'd be tempted to vote for him.
He'd have something on the left of Biden.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he ain't going to do it though. So
he ain't going to do it. But at the same time, you never know what he's going to come out with, right? I've heard. I mean, I don't know how true it is, but insiders saying like, "Oh, Trump had this idea," which was kind of on the progressive side, and like his cabinet and would talk him out of it. You know what I mean? He'd be like, "Oh, okay."
Strangely enough, when Trump first got in, he was considering doing some kind of universal health care, but he was talked out of that quickly. And and if let's say if like there's been some instances where Trump was to the left of the Democrats, he would only do that just to make the Democrats look bad, but he wouldn't actually implement those left wing things. He was just doing that just as a publicity stunt. That's it.
Exactly.
It's just
like he should have gave everybody money for the time we were shut down. We got one $1,200. Some people didn't even get it. One $1,200 check during the coronavirus shutdown. He could have easily came out and said, "Look, I won't let my people starve. This is America. We're the greatest country of all time. I'm going to show you how great we are. $1,200 for everybody until we get this coronavirus." He probably would have said some racist shit. He probably would have called it the China virus, right? He probably would have said, "Until we get this China virus."
He did say the Kung flu, the Wuhan flu.
Wuhan flu. Like he probably would have implemented some racist shit in it, but he would have gave everybody 12. Like I could have easily seen that scenario play out, right? It was just a flip of a dime, right? And you can't tell with this guy.
The reason he didn't do that is because the people he works closely with, the big money interests, told him there's no need to do it. Only 2 or 3% of the population may end up dying, so it's not really going to affect us. Let's just try to keep the economy going so we can still keep making money, because they're a bunch of sociopaths who have all this unilateral economic control. They're just economic authoritarians. The only thing they care about is increasing their bottom line. It's a game to them. If people at the bottom got to die for it, so be it. And we got to change that system to where there's a lot more representation, a lot more democratization of our economy through UBI and co-determinations, at least, promoting worker co-op formations through getting them having an easier time of getting loans, things of that nature, and a much stronger social safety net. We got to reinvest in people. That's why the economy is shrinking in some way. In some ways, all these stores are shutting down because people do not have much money or much extra money to spend at these stores, and these stores shut down. People are out of work, and it's just spiraling down.
I do have a prediction. We are going to get another $1,200 check. I think it's either going to be in October or November. That's right. One of my predictions. We are going to get one more $1,200 check. Mark my words.
I think we are going to get one more check, but I think it may be a different amount. Not sure.
Different amount. It could be. I'm saying $1,200 check. Let me rephrase that. Another stimulus check, right? We'll get a stimulus check in October or November. Yes, in October or November, right in time for the holidays, right? And
right in time before the election too.
right in time before the election. We will get that. And yeah, man, I don't know. It's not going how I anticipated. I really thought, a Biden would be winning in a landslide right now. But we talked about Biden being for Medicare for all. He came out and said, even if it came across his desk,
he's going to veto it.
He's going to veto it. So, and that's my issue when people say, "Oh, you're speaking bad about Biden. Don't do that." I'm not speaking bad about. Think about the context of that. I'm not speaking bad about him. I'm speaking on facts.
The truth.
I'm speaking the truth. Right? I'm speaking on things that he actually have said. So when I come out and say Biden has said he would veto Medicare for all, you can't come out and say I'm speaking bad about Biden. This is what he said, right? I'm not fabricating a lie or making things up to make him look bad. If I can't speak on this man's truths, why would I want to back him? Now, I get it. Trump is an existential threat, right? I get it. I don't agree with the orange man at all, but I feel like we're all commonly aware of how bad Trump is. Like, we get it. Like, I don't need to convince anybody here that Trump is bad. We know. But there are some people that don't realize just how shitty Biden is. Now, I'm not saying he's as shitty as Trump, right. But what I'm saying is I don't consider it a win. Like, I'll say, okay, we dodged a killing blow if we don't get Trump in there. But I'm also not patting myself on the back either. Like, I'm not proud that we got Joe Biden in because I know we can do so much better. I know we can. But we dropped the fucking ball.
Well, thing is, you know what? Let's say if Biden does get in, and I hope he does. I hope to God that I'm wrong. Please let me be wrong. About my prediction, please, God, please. But if, let's say he gets in, and all of a sudden, a lot of these centrist liberals were going to tell us lefties, hey, you need to knock off this revolution talk because everything's better now. A Democrat's in the White House, so can't we just not talk about revolution? Like, fuck you. We're carrying this all the fucking way. We're taking over the Democratic Party. That's going to happen. Us just Democrat progressives, we are going to do that, and we are going to get Medicare for all done soon enough, but not sooner than people think, but not soon enough. Other ideas as well. So that's going to happen. Just got to keep pushing for it.
Yeah, a Democrat being in the White House isn't the end all be all. That's just step one, right? We got a lot more steps to take. I do think some version of Medicare for all will be implemented. I don't think it's going to be Sanders' version because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Sanders' version is even more to the left of some of the places like Australia and Germany and Canada. Yeah, it's even more left than theirs. I don't think that's going to happen right away, but I think we'll get some sort of version, a public option or something. We'll get a version of Medicare for all.
I think it'll be a version of it, but I think it'll be pretty much it. It may not be every little thing, but it'll be mostly what Bernie Sanders and people on the left want. And it'll end up being the model healthcare system then the entire world can look to, because we'll have that vision, hearing, dental included, that Canada don't. Canada, if they spend a bit more money, except they got a conservative government for the most part right now, I think.
Right.
If they can just get that in there, they can greatly improve their already pretty decent system. Is it perfect? No, but it doesn't beat the hell out of our private system, which is in fucking shambles. You better believe it.
Yes. Shambles. Horrible.
This is beyond broken. Even people with good insurance, right? People with good insurance have to fight the corporate bureaucracy just to get shit that they're supposed to get.
Good insurance. Good insurance. Correct me if I'm wrong. People in the comment section, correct me if I'm wrong too. I have good insurance, right? I have pretty good insurance. And I think most of the time, good insurance covers 80%, right? Covers 80%. Now, I'm not saying there's not better insurance, but from what I understand, it's good insurance. And like some years ago, I went to the hospital and I had to stay in the emergency room. And I stayed there for a couple of days. And my insurance covered 80% of what the cost was. And I still had a $12,000 hospital bill at the end. Now, what average American has $12,000 lying about? And that's just a big chunk. More came in after that, like $300 here, $400 there, like random little ones after that. And the thing is, right,
move your pillow.
Right, they gave you aspirin, right? So
They walk
And
past your room a little slowly.
they walk past the room, and this is with good insurance. Like, they take it from my check. There's not a check that hasn't happened that they didn't take out for insurance. And I'm in there, and while I'm in pain in the hospital, the nurse comes in pushing a little cart and asks me for insurance information. First of all, fuck you. I'm not feeling well. Don't come in and ask me for fucking insurance information. That's what you're worried about right now, is insurance information?
That's the way the system's set up, man.
Such a fucked up system. It's so fucked up. And then they send you this bill, right? And if that shit hits your credit, if you don't pay that shit or come up with some sort of plan to pay that shit off or whatever, that shit hits your credit. And as you know, living in America, if you want a house or if you want certain things or some way to prosper for the future, you need to have decent credit, right?
Hey,
so you can just
listen, you speaking of decent credit. I don't know if you know about this. You probably do. They're starting to try to bring back debtors' prisons.
Oh my God.
In some states, at least, like you're in debt from a private company. No, now they can.
And you're gonna put them in prison. I mean,
Yeah,
there was a
like
point.
like a fucking old London and shit.
Do you remember? I don't know if people. I think they don't do it anymore. At least in Connecticut. I don't know how far and wide it is, but they used to, when you applied for a job, run your credit. They used to do a credit check on you. Why the fuck are you?
Some do in my state.
That's insane. Why are you running somebody's credit to see if they should have a job? Because that's not how it works.
Well, in theory, their thing is, in theory, if you have bad credit, you might be more tempted to steal because you're in a worse off situation.
Well, that's insane. Think about it. So if I would have went to the hospital, came out, this shit hits my credit because I don't have a means to pay for it. I try to get a job. We're not going to give you a job because you ended up in the hospital through no fault of your own and didn't have the means to pay for it. Like, it's just a crazy system, and it needs to. Every conservative I've talked to at least agrees that it needs to be fixed. Right? They don't necessarily agree on Medicare for all.
No,
right?
And idiots.
They don't. But they agree it needs to be fixed. They don't have a solution to necessarily fix it, but they can at least agree that it needs to be fixed, because if their grandmother goes in the hospital or whatever, they're going to end up in the same scenario I was in, unless they're sitting on, a chunk of money, which I think half of America makes $30,000 or less. 75% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. It might even be worse now because of coronavirus. But they're not for Medicare for all. But everyone agrees that it needs to be fixed to some degree.
Some conservatives or even right-wing libertarians talk about, well, we just got government out of the way, competition would kick in. And no, dude, it doesn't work like that. These hospitals and businesses are already huge on their own, and they would be unrestrained to do pretty much whatever they want without breaking your Nash's precious non-aggression principle if they even choose to do that. So yeah, I think a lot of people just need to be exposed to the system to the point where they get radicalized to be more open to more solutions, maybe even be more leftward. I mean, it's not our fault the system's fucked up. I mean, I got these old ass boomers who, for the most part, most boomers who created this situation that we're in economically just so they can have a nice retirement. Now they talk about personal responsibility, then they lay this shit that they set up on us for us to fuck you and your personal responsibility bullshit.
Well, if you complain about it, they're going to tell you to tie your bootstraps up and just work harder.
I already do that. I tell them, stuck my ass. I already do that.
I said this in an interview with Paget before. By the way, people watching, next week, Thursday, I have an interview with Paget again, so be sure to tune in to that.
Try to get me on her show. Hey, there's a smart redhead dude. He's predicting stuff. He's got these ideas. Please have him on. He doesn't have a big channel. Yeah, he's looking for a little bit of clout, but he's an honest, cool dude. Okay, come on, he's honest about it. I think
her YouTube channel got a strike last time I spoke to her. Her YouTube channel got a strike it was. So I think it's gonna be like on Twitch. I got to talk to her again and see. I think it's gonna be on Twitch or something. I don't know how her channel got a strike.
Oh, you don't know? Okay.
No, I don't think it's a copyright strike, because usually when you get a copyright strike on a video, they'll just take that shit down or give you the option to, cut out that segment. There's like so many things you can do before like the copyright strike hurts your channel. So I don't know exactly what happened.
So you think it might be more of a community guideline strike, maybe?
Something along those lines for her channel to actually have received the strike.
She might have been brigaded by a bunch of right-wing jerk-offs.
Could have because I get copyright, strikes all the time. They don't hurt your channel. Like if I put the wrong music, like I did something, I played a song in a couple of videos ago, and like, of course, YouTube was like, cut that shit out, but your channel doesn't get a strike. But
yeah, I try to find music that's copyright free. You know, it's to play my streams and do my videos with if I have to. I try to make sure it's not going to get me nuked or anything. I mean, I don't monetize my channels. You don't see commercials on my ads on my channel. I tell people, hey, listen, get ad block and ad block plus, so you don't get see no more of the fucking ads. And just maybe if you really appreciate me saying that, maybe you give me $1 or $2 a month on Patreon. Huh? I mean, Daddy needs a half tank of gas, all right? Listen.
Sue, it won't be on my channel. It's going to be on Paget's. I'm sure she's going to text out or tweet out, the stream, or tweet out when it's happening. I think the time is Eastern is going to be 6 p.m. I'll tweet it out again before the interview actually happens. So everybody.
So you were going to be on her show.
Yeah. I'll be the 2 times I spoke to her, I was on her show. So I'm also going to be on her. She's just going to have more of followers. More people are going to come in and tune in. So it just makes sense.
Her channel is blowing up, and it is nice to see people's channels like hers, Yang Gang supporters, to get the word out there and get people talking about it. That's the best thing. People may not agree with the solutions or whatever, just that they're talking about it. It's in the public discourse. It's in the frontal of their fucking cortex. They're talking about it. It's there. It's not forgotten. I mean, I think that's got to be the best thing that people that support Andrew Yang. That's one of the best things I think that they're doing for the UBI effort. And it really is important.
It's crazy. At one point, and I always bring this up, when Yang was running and he mentioned UBI, you had our possible Vice President Kamala Harris, and then you had Pistol Pete laughing at it. Do you remember that? They're like, "Oh, that's original."
Don't give people money. Huh?
Oh, they were so pompous about it, right? And now
limousine liberals,
and now everybody's like, "Yeah, I'm on UBI, I'm for that UBI." It was the same thing with Medicare for all. At one point, when Sanders was mentioning Medicare for all, people were like, "Ugh, what are you? You sound crazy. You sound like a commie. What are you talking about?" and then Sanders ran this time around, and everybody had some version of Medicare for all who won it. Medicare that.
And then as soon as they could, they ditched the idea.
They fucking ditched it, right? So like, man, we're gonna talk about people that set change the Overton window. Bernie Sanders with Medicare for all, and then Andrew Yang with UBI. None of those people were the original thinkers of these things, right? They existed beforehand in some way, shape, or form. Martin Luther King was for universal basic income. There were other people that were for UBI. Other people were for
poor people's campaign. Yeah,
exactly. But they were the torchbearers of these policies this time around. They got a lot of younger people thinking about it and talking about it, and I just think it's amazing, and it shows the authenticity of these people, and that's why I say we could have did so much better than Biden. I covered the entire campaign. There was not one thing he said that got me like, oh fuck yeah, let's do that. Fuck yeah. Not one. There wasn't one thing he said, not one idea, nothing innovative. He never got me excited about any. If anything, all he talked about was what we couldn't do. We can't do this. We can't do this. We can't do this.
He's a Democrat. I don't know.
Democrat.
I didn't work too well. Never mind.
It did.
Sometimes I try to work on jokes and it don't work out.
That was good off the cuff. No, I'll give you that. That was good off the cuff.
But do you remember when Biden told that one college student, "I don't want to hear. I got no empathy for you."
Yeah.
Stage.
Yeah. I remember that.
We got to vote for him. Vote blue.
Any of these boomers thinking that the situation in today's day and age is exactly the way it was in theirs is out of their fucking mind. It's not the same. We can't operate the same way. It's not that these younger generations are lazy or things along those lines. It's things aren't the wages have been stagnant, right? For years. We're begging for a UBI. We're begging for some sort of wage increase, right? Because things have been stagnant. People are working harder than ever. People are working just as hard, but they're not getting compensated for it. There was a time where, you can have the kids at home, You can have the wife at home per se, and the husband could go work in the factory, and you guys could own a house. You could take a vacation once a year, and he wasn't. You guys weren't wealthy per se, but you weren't super struggling, right? And now we have people going back home, live with their parents uh, more than ever because they're not getting compensated for their work. I know people working multiple jobs, and they're fucking struggling. And so it's not that people are lazy; it's that the time and the economic downturn that we're in is fucking atrocious. So I hate when they get on the younger generation.
Yeah, you notice how over time the employees had unionization, then unionization really fell off. Now all of a sudden, we're not even really employees no more. It's either temp workers or gig workers. It's like we're not even employees no more, really. It's just less and less and less and less to get the corporations and the big businesses more and more profits. They keep putting a squeeze on us every which way, and it's like, what the fuck? Something got to give, and we just got to keep pushing for that better future. And we'll get to it as long as we keep pushing.
Right. So CM just went in the chat and said, "Hello, nerds."
You're a nerd. Your mom is a nerd.
Well, he's talking about Tom. He's talking about Tom from Nerds for Yang. Look, I'm not Tom, but I love me some Tom, and I think he's gonna appreciate that you just did that.
I'm not a nerd. I'm a good people's.
I always call myself. I always call myself a buff nerd. Like I fucking.
Well, at least I'm not a conservative. Thank Christ.
I don't know, man. There's some conservatives like Trumper for Yang and right that like they get that the current establishment is shit. Like they'll tell you that from their own mouth. They ain't aboard the Democratic train either. It's like
I don't blame them. I mean, let's say if someone thinks they're conservative. But they support, decent welfare, social safety net, UBI, maybe some sort of public option or universal healthcare. Then they may be more centrist than they think. They just think they're conservative because maybe they think, well, I'm for liberty, personal liberty. I'm for small government. I'm for lower taxes. So that makes me conservative, even though conservatism is been rooted in a philosophy of people who just naturally not equal, or believe in preserving traditional power structures, like from the wealthy, from the monarchy ages, kings of old, things of that nature, things like traditional values, like the wife stays in the kitchen, the man goes out and works, that sort of thing. That's conservatism. This old modern idea of tradition and maintaining the old status quo because it preserves certain power structures. That's conservatism. People nowadays think, like I said before, if they may think they're conservative only because they believe, hey, I'm liberal, not liberal, but libertarian socialist. And I believe personal freedom should be maximized as much as possible, but not as an absolute, of course, because there's always boundaries. But of course, I believe in workers owning the means of production, or at least having some control over it, mandated by law. And there's a strong social safety net. So I think they may be more open to that if they were just exposed to the argumentation and the framing that people like me provide. And I try to encourage other people on the left to be more efficient with their framing and not be so knee-jerk in how they respond to things, but try to be a bit more methodical in their approach. That's what I try to do on my channel. And if you're conservative, right-wing, and if you really are conservative or right-wing, I'll talk to you. No, I'm not just going to say, oh my God, you're Nazi, get out. But because there are many different flavors, many different shades of to the left, to the right, up, down, in, and out. So that's what I try to do on my channel.
I read a study, and I've seen it play out, which is funny. But I read a study that most people, they're incorrect about their labels, right? So they'll label themselves XYZ, and then when you go down the list of policies, right, they actually are more in line with social democracy, right, or something else along those lines. But they'll label themselves or call themselves this or that, but their list of policies they believe in is the exact opposite of what they label themselves, or more to the left or more to the right of what they believe. And so I do find it interesting when people call themselves or label themselves a certain way, and then vote are for policies that are the exact opposite. And I'm like, you don't see the irony in what you're doing.
Maybe they want to see themselves perhaps as conservative because their family's that way, and they just don't want to rock the boat at Thanksgiving dinner. I don't know. Maybe it's that. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, but
Exactly.
it's been like an hour and a half. Then that went pretty quick.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No.
we're going to keep doing this 5-hour stream now.
No. I'm wrapping it up. I was just looking at the time. It's been an hour and a
Wrap it
half.
up.
But I want you to tell everybody in my chat and everybody that's going to end up tuning in to watch this eventually after it's uploaded, who you are, where they can find you, put in whatever you need to put in. I'm also going to put it in the comment section below. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, well, my name is Joe. I am the Everyday Progressive. I have a YouTube channel called The Everyday Progressive Show. I also stream on Twitch. I also have a Discord server, if that's your sort of thing. I am definitely a left of center, good kind of person, but I'm willing to talk to people who are not left of center. I try to run a social sphere that's not a left-wing echo chamber. I try to entertain many different positions and ideas as long as they're not, Nazis and JQs and shit like that. Fuck, that can fuck right off. But I try to be open. If you treat me good, I treat you good back. And I do what I can to try to, try to preach that sort of mentality, that reciprocation of treatment. But yeah, I've been into politics or at least debating politics online more or less for about 20 years. It doesn't look it, but I'm probably a good deal older than people think that I am. I'm actually 42, so I'm definitely older than I look. I mean, I'm sorry, younger than I look. Wait, or is it the other way around? I forget. I'm getting tired.
I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole.
But yeah, I look young for my age. So, but I've been definitely dealing with people on the right, especially since 1999, 1998, more or less when AOL was a thing, and CompuServe. Man, I'm old school internet. I was, I'm not well. I was messing around with the computer when Doom first came out, Doom and Doom 2 back in '94. Like, dude, I was downloading that, taking those old floppy disks and put them in. And then they had deathmatch, and anyway, I'm going off on a rant, but I try to keep my videos around, say, 5 to 10 minutes. They're not terribly long. They sort of just get to the point. And I try to keep them just as entertaining as possible with memes and such to keep, what's fun? What's so much fun about a guy staring at them like this, talking to you for 30 minutes? Unless it's Richard Wolf. He can do that. For some reason, he can do it. I can't. And he can talk slow and still get thousands of views. My God, his Patreon page, my God, let alone if I can just get a piece of that. But yeah, that's who I am pretty much.
So they can go to YouTube, type in
Everyday Progressive Shoe,
and you'll pop up. Twitter handle
at the Everyday PRG.
And do you have like Instagram or Facebook or any other social media?
Just twitch.tv, Everyday Progressive Show on Twitch. That's pretty much it.
All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I got more videos coming up for you. Also, like I said, I got a stream with Paget coming up. That should be pretty dope. We always have great conversations. I just want to thank the Everyday Progressive for having this chat with me. We got some stuff out that I've been wanting to talk about recently, as far as Biden and socialism and capitalism and UBI and your predictions. Everybody remember his predictions, right? Hold him accountable to those predictions.
My political prediction series on my YouTube channel. Check out. Just look at the titles. Just look at the titles. You don't gotta watch them. I don't want to subject you to that.
Check that out. All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will talk to you soon. Stay safe. Peace.
And left is best.